Hello class, and welcome to this Legendary Wings walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. By way of Let's Play with Brigands, I'm your instructor, Professor Brigands, and welcome to one of the better top-down shoot-em-ups on the NES. This is a Capcom title, dealing with themes of something about the gods. I'm not sure, Fluff will tell us more about that a little bit later, but pretty solid game all in all. I first experienced this game, I collected my NES games as a small child through all sorts of different means, and my grandmother was getting us my brother and I, Christmas gift, and knew we liked Nintendo, and saw this in the store apparently, and saw that it had an angel on the front, and being a good Catholic woman, just, I guess, figured it would be a good influence on us. So thank you, Grandma, for introducing me to this pretty good game, actually. Not the most difficult offering on the NES. In terms of difficulty, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10, which equates to throwing your controller across the room. Typically, it's when you've run out of your power-ups, you're on the worst gun, possibly, or you get stuck in a wall. There's a couple small glitches like that. Hopefully, we'll try to avoid today, but we'll be talking about that as we get into it. Let's just run the intro and hit the ground running, flying. Alright, let's kick off this Legendary Wings walkthrough, start a brand new game here. 1 player or 2 player, but it's going to stick with the 1 player right here. Has very good co-op action. As we take a look at the controls here, we can pause the game with start, move around, the D-pad, fire the gun with B, and grenades with A. Pretty straightforward. And this game is all about the guns. Sorry, Grandma. So with a rundown on those, let's go to Blaze.
Alright, let's talk about the different gun upgrades you will get in Legendary Wings. You'll see this P icon, this item, both on the overworld and in the underground areas. This is the gun upgrade. So there are 5 different levels for your gun. You start out with the normal shot, just does 1 times damage, single damage. Then, when you pick up one of these upgrades, you get to level 2, which gives you the twin lasers for double the damage. Level 3 unlocks the penetration move. I like it's like an electric drill, basically. 3 times the damage. Then, we kind of take a step back with the level 4. We're going back to 2 times damage. It's called the flame shots. It's got a nice spread to it, but aside from that, it's not all that. What you really want is the level 5, maxed out. I call it the Firebird, 4 times the damage when you have this, and it gives you extra health, basically. You can get hit twice before you, 3 times, I guess I should say, before you lose this power up. It's the item of the game, if you ask me. Go for the Firebird, hold on to it like the spreader in Contra. Hold on to it, keep it, look after it, and there you go. My item of the game in Legendary Wings.
Thank you very much, Blaze. Yep, gotta grab that Firebird, and the best way to get this on the first level is to use one of your grenades right here on this ground target, and then get sucked up in this little hole here. And we have some unique items down here, which I'm gonna have Blaze talk about once again. Blaze?
Alright, let's talk about the pickups you will find in the underground areas, kind of the bonus stages in particular. We have the bird, which is worth 500 points. Not sure what I'm doing with my hand there. Then you have the snake, which is worth a full 1,000 points. And then you have the pharaoh head, worth a full 5,000. Hard 5 right there. 5,000 points. If you care about points, there you go. You also have the gun upgrades, which we've talked about already. And the hearts act as an extra continue once you run out of lives.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you shouldn't need those continues if you're following along with this walkthrough, if we're worth our salt here, but, so yeah, the points are, you get some extra lives here and there, but not a really big deal. This game it's a tale of 2 games, much like Contra, which we covered in a recent class. You can check that out. Link in the description. It's on the official Video Games 101 playlist, but if you don't have the Firebird, this is a much more difficult game. not only does the Firebird give you the cushioning of extra lives, or extra damage, better said, that you can take before you lose the gun, but it just does the most damage. The thing about the co-op mode is they don't give you extra gun power-ups for both of you, so it's a little bit harder to come by to both of you have the Firebird, but pretty indestructible once you have it. As we take a look at the Briggs notes here, not surprisingly, get and maintain the Firebird. That is the first key to winning this game. Then hit the good stages, avoid the bad ones. Talk more about that as we go. We just came out of one of the good stages there. And turbo firing is going to save you a lot of hassle, save your thumbs as well in this game. But one thing to mention is they do not give you extra weapons upgrades if you're playing on two-player mode. So the gun upgrades are harder to come by. Sometimes they can lead to little spats between you and your friend or sibling or whoever you're playing with. Just got to be smart with who gets what power-ups, and if that means having one person maxed out and the other mostly dodging, it's up to you as we take down these little gargoyle frog-looking things. Just like real life, I mean, if these creatures existed, 3 grenades takes them down, just mind their bullets. And let's throw it for the first time to our resident boss expert, Gary.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters. Alright, every single level in Legendary Wings, all 5 of them end in fighting one of these dragons. I recommend having Turbo, and I recommend, if you have it, having the Firebird. Get your shots in, a lot of shots when the dragon first comes out, and then to be extra safe, just stay away from the dragon when it gets close so you can avoid its quick thrust towards you and its fireballs. Just fire when it's further away. You can line up with it then and dodge its attacks, but the dragon never that difficult and goes down very quickly when you have the Firebird in particular.
Alright, good call, Gary. Yeah, there's a lot of rehashing of the bosses in this game. Really just those dragons, and then who we have at the end of this area, and then you just kind of throw that back at you for 4 more areas. One thing I will say about this gun, I hate this gun because of how little damage it does, and just kind of slow and pokey, except for that main shot, but it does kill all the weak stuff on the screen pretty effectively, so that's something. And it's the only gun that can take down those guys. That one's probably literally impossible to get to. But being a top-down shooter, as this turns into a side-scrolling shooter, actually, so they give you a couple different looks in this game. It's sort of what sets it apart. There's always a breakaway part, and no matter which of these sections you go through here. And there's our Firebird. I think we can grab it. We just have to be quick. There we go. Best gun in the game, and now we can take 3 hits of damage before we lose the Firebird. Really is the difference between this game being probably, in some of the later levels, maybe even an 8 in terms of difficulty, and sticking at the current 5 that it's at. Just gotta make sure you hold on to it. Be careful and use your power-ups effectively as we throw it back to Gary.
Boss beaters. Alright, the alien ship. When the eyeballs are off the screen, get close and turbo fire at that door. When the eyeballs are on the screen, you want to focus on dodging the projectiles they launch at you. It's the same with every single time you fight this boss. There's going to be more depth to the boss every time, which means more eyes when it comes out farther, and you're going to have to get more shots in, but the strategy never really changes. So just once again, first and foremost, just focus on your defense, and when you get targets of opportunity, moments of opportunity, just get in close and fire away at that alien inside the ship.
Good call, Gary. Yeah, even the later alien ships where, it takes more damage, it comes out farther, it's still not really that much more difficult, so. But again, it depends on your gun. If you're kind of slumming it at that point with one of the beginner level guns, or really anything besides the Firebird, it is a much tougher out, so. That's why playing the game on co-op it can be very stressful and frustrating for the person who has been not picking up the power-ups quite as much. So, led to a lot of sibling rivalries and spats when I was a kid. Probably not what my grandma had in mind. So the technique, as we get 2 power-ups here at the beginning of the level, the technique to keep in mind with the Firebird, you have to do a little bit of math, because if you've taken, and we missed this on the first level, but yeah, I like to do a little counterclockwise motion. I start on the far left, around the 9 o'clock position, and then just move counterclockwise to avoid those bubbles. And you can pretty much avoid them all until the final stage, which I think we'll not even try to get around, just in the interest of showing you what that looks like. But it is very hard to get past that last one, because in every level that creature, whatever it is, it fires out faster, sucking you in bubbles that are harder to avoid. But that's the strategy there. But the idea with the Firebird is if you've taken 1 hit of damage, then it's not a big deal. You just grab the power-up. But if you've taken 2 hits of damage, and you see a power-up on the screen, you might just want to get hit real quick and then pick it up again. And this will take you down to that spreader kind of shot. And then when you pick up the power-up again, it'll max out your Firebird. So it's basically the difference between having a fully powered-up Firebird and having a Firebird which has taken 1 damage. So that was the good hidden area in this level, but we're maxed out on our Firebirds. We're going to avoid that. Now, I think our time could be better spent by learning a bit more about this game with Fluff. Fluff?
Legendary Wings is set in the distant future where humanity has evolved into an advanced civilization thanks to the help of an alien computer called Dark. Dark, however, suddenly starts to malfunction and starts killing everybody. With humanity on the brink of extinction, the god of war decides to interfere, and he grants 2 human beings magical wings. Michelle Hart is given the wings of love, while Kevin Walker the wings of courage. Together they take to the skies to fight off Dark and his minions.
One of the more unique plots for an NES game for a refreshing change. It's nice to not have to put up that trope list image once again, not have to update that. It's even got that robots taking over humanity storyline before it was fashionable. Well done, Legendary Wings, well done. And you can see how quickly we just dismantle that dragon with the Firebird. Just get right in front of it after it makes its last move, and then just blast away. And the devil's waiting for us as we head into the next side-scrolling area of this game. Yeah, I do like that as we just find the blast-through parts in each of these areas. I like the contrast of the 2 different modes in this game. Top-down shooter and side-scrolling shooter with different visuals and everything. Kind of set this game apart from some of its peers. Of course, there were some other games that did this, like Guardian Legend. Went from top-down shooter to more of like a Blaster Master vibe with that top-down walking around type thing. Another prime example of a great game which, throws up a few different looks at you. Here I just like to get up close and just turbo, basically. You can grab that power-up if you need it, but just hit 2 of the rows there with the spread of the Firebird, and just let that bottom bug fly underneath you. Nothing too challenging here. The game really doesn't get too taxing until the 4th and especially the 5th levels, the final level. So you get a nice spread by, you can kind of simulate the effect of that crappier level 4 gun just by going up and down with the D-pad and just keep firing away and killing everything as it first presents itself. But now we have another alien ship. Gary already told us the strategy, so we're just going to keep it here. It takes a very long time to initially come out. You can see it has more eyeballs this go around. I like how they keep giving it a fresh coat of paint, different looks for it. Just getting right up on that as it throws out brain matter. I'm not sure what that's meant to be in there. Pretty nasty, whatever it is. And then just kind of the rhythm, you're like, alright, this is going to be it right here, because he's got no eyeballs we have to avoid. We just get right up at the windshield and just start blasting away, and here we go. 3 areas are still to be clear with that E at the end of clear. Hold out for final victory. Don't get cocky. That's the God of War's way of saying, alright, slow down there. Michelle Hart and what was the other guy's? Kevin Walker? Kevin Walker. I'm sure that's what the name of the angel was. The warrior turned angel. Let's get like an Indiana Jones vibe from this level for some reason. I don't know, just the color scheme and the music. Again, be smart about that power-up. If you've taken 2 hits of damage at this point, just find a projectile, throw yourself into it, and then grab the weapons upgrade to max out that shield. You're your Firebird level. It's just math, basically. I know you were told there would be no math, but... And once again, we're going to do our counterclockwise move, cycling from the 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock position, and then by the time we're around the top of the screen, the creature should have been scrolled off, basically. Once again, we're going to avoid the lucky stage in this level, but we will show you where it is once again. The only one that I still want to hit, unless we need it in maybe the final level, is the lucky stage in level 4, which I like to call Christmas Morning. And you'll see why once we get there, but yeah, it's pretty fantastic. All sibling rivalries at that point will be, at least for the moment, they will be healed and patched up. See, there's more bullet storms we're getting caught up in at this point, as they're upping the difficulty. Good rule of thumb, as with any top-down shooter, is to clear out as many of the sources of the projectiles as quickly as possible. And I think this is the one. Yeah, it's right there. So if you need any power-ups at this point, pop in there. Get yourself topped off and in good shape. It's more of a necessity when you have that second player, because in the overworld area, these top-down areas, the power-ups are just a lot fewer and farther between, so... Usually they give you 1 or 2 at the beginning of the stage, and then maybe 1 near the end, and then maybe 1 in the beginning as well. We can shoot these guys and they'll blast at us, or if we just have patience, and Capcom is trying to instill patience in us, then we can just let them shoot in the opposite direction and explode. And since this is pretty much the same stuff, once again, you know the drill, let's throw it to Fluff for another fact.
Legendary Wings is another arcade to console port. The Japanese arcade version features Michelle Hart, who we referenced in the opening, a young woman in a pink bikini as one of the 2 characters. Not surprisingly, this character was changed to a generic male character for the NES version. Michelle Hart has enjoyed a few cameos since, including the background of Ken stage in Street Fighter Alpha 2, along with plenty of other Capcom characters standing in as sort of Easter eggs.
That's a bit of a downgrade, going from Legendary Warrior, who saves humanity, to Cocktail Waitress in the background of Ken's stage.
I don't disagree.
Alright, well, thank you very much, Fluff. I will say, I think if that cover had been on the shelf at the game store my grandma went to, then I might not have ever played this game as a child. It's a different look, to say the least. Different look. But anyway, mind the lava here. That will tear through your Firebird. I mentioned there's a couple areas in this game, well, a lot of areas if you're not careful, where the game gets a little glitchy. I don't know, maybe it's by design, but if you take damage and you kind of have that second of, it's meant to be invincibility for your benefit, but if you go into like a barrier, like we just did there, see, here's the rule. Let's just get ourselves shot, kill that guy, and then max out our Firebird. But you have to be very careful when you are flashing there that you're not kind of inside any sort of wall or anything, so you can go through them. We have these guys. Hate these guys. Blast at them before they get a shot off, basically. You have to be very vigilant with them. Make sure you don't go too far into the screen, like the middle, to stay more to the back, because they will sometimes assemble right on top of you and cost you some damage. But yes, if you, because you can go into one of the walls when you're flashing, when you're temporarily invincible, and if you stop flashing while you're still embedded in the wall, I mean, you'll become embedded in the wall, and it will basically just take away an entire life of yours, which wouldn't be a big deal if you have a lot of lives, but it takes away your weapons upgrades as well and starts you back at the original gun level, which basically is it's a suicide mission at that point, especially if you're late in the game, so you have to be very careful when you're collecting power-ups or just when you've taken damage. Just make sure you're clear of all obstacles once you stop flashing. So, just a little something in there, a little glitchy, but anyway. 2 levels remain. Hold out for the final victory, once again. This next level is my favorite in terms of looks. I don't know, it's some sort of futuristic, I don't even know, it's like Wizard of Oz meets crazy futuristic fever dream, dystopian, I don't even know what you want to call this, but there's going to be lots of bullets flying at you in this stage, and for the first time, those guys can't be killed, by the way. We're operating in some very tight quarters here. For the first time in this game, the lucky area, the one that we actually want to go to this time, it's hidden. It's not in one of these little pods. It's actually just in some blackness of the ground, so you gotta know where it is. So we'll point that out for you. Between 2 little kind of overpass things. Be lots of bullets coming at you at that time, I should say. But, alright, so this one, a little trickier to avoid. Its little cyclones come out a lot more rapidly in terms of pacing, but they're still not super fast like they will be in the next level. That's why it's so hard to avoid, as you'll see, but that's okay. We want to show off one of those, so that'll be fun. And I think we got some of these drill enemies here on loan from the Mega Man collection. They're both Capcom games, right? And yeah, we're going to take the damage there to get ourselves maxed out again. Yeah, these guys are straight out of Metal Man stage. They're just going left to right rather than up and down. And these are the overpass things I was referring to earlier. So the secret stage is going to be between 2 of these, so we want to be grenading. It's a bit more to the right, off-center, a bit to the right. It's coming up right here, I want to say. Yep, there it is, just hidden in the black right there. So hit that, and you'll see why I call this lucky stage Christmas morning. Because not only is there a ton of points, but just keeping track here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Already that's enough to max out one of your weapons, upgrades all the way to Firebird status if you have 2 people. Tons of continues here. There's 5. There's 6. There might be enough for 2 full weapons upgrades for you and your player 2, and there you go. That's 8. So there you go. Capcom patching up the friendships, the relationships, the whatever you want to call it. At least for this one stage, but you will need them because, like I said, it's going to be bullet hell, basically, in this final stretch of the game. You do not want to go through this last stretch with anything other than the Firebird. I'll say that right now. They have some of these power-ups embedded in the walls here, which you can blast out. That'd be a nasty trick if you couldn't blast those out and you just died. If you ever get caught behind an obstacle, and there's 9, look at that, just in case, you grabbed an extra one that you weren't supposed to, and your friend punches you in the arm and says, "Hey man." There you go, Capcom, once again, putting out the fires. Like to see that. But you will need them. It's too bad those things can't stack, and we can't have like a level 12 Firebird where we just fire and the whole screen explodes or something. Just nuke every enemy on the screen. Can't even see the bullets in those little bridges right there. And more of these guys. We're coming up on the little gargoyle toads once again. Get right up in there before they get a shot off. Very satisfying sound effect too, that just when it lands to when it explodes. And Same two frog gargoyles here, or gargoyle toads, whatever, guarding it. Dragon won't come out till you take them down, and just another dragon. Let it get his moves off, get some shots in, just like all the rest. Gotta rush courageously. More Kevin Walker's thing, right? He had the heart of courage or whatever it was. The wings of courage, I'm sorry. That's the whole thing. Getting lost in the BS that the game creators had to come up with for these games. It's not exactly, cinema, basically, or, screenwriting, or not, they give you more power-ups right there. Novel writing or anything like that in terms of the scope of these stories. It's just, hey, Princess Zelda's been kidnapped. I mean, credit to Nintendo, and, well, Nintendo, I guess, in this case, for fleshing out that story. As, the game obviously went on to become very popular, and they made a whole series out of it and everything. But, for a lot of these games in the 80s, they're like, we can only show you so much to represent the story in these games, so we're not going to put too much into these stories. And, to the kids of the 80s and 90s, for their part, they didn't really care. Most of them, at least. They just wanted the sweet, sweet gameplay. So they're mixing up the same old obstacles here in this penultimate stretch of Legendary Wings right here. Just little dragonfly type, whatever you want to call those guys, and the war mech looking dudes, and another one of these alien ships for good measure. Again, try to neuter those eyes when the eyes are open. They're invincible when they're closed, so. But mostly it's not really worth the time unless you're just going for points. Again, if it's one of those scenarios where you're on the couch with your buddy of 20 or 30 years, you played this growing up and you're just going for points now because you've mastered this. I don't know why you're watching this at this point. Maybe just to get that extra leg up on your friend in that scenario. Thank you very much, by the way. We'd like to think that these game walkthroughs from Video Games 101 are, for the beginners to the advanced players, so there we go. One final level, and it is far and away the most difficult of the game. But we should be alright with the Firebird. One area is still to be clear. A little lazy they couldn't be bothered to change that for this final level to the non-plural, but that's fine. Kind of like the music here. If that last level wasn't futuristic enough for you, I think they tick the last boxes on this one. The difficulty here is they squeeze you into some very tight corridors, and they put their little ground assault units in some very opportune positions for them, for their part. Their purposes. I like when they work in some of that, some of those hieroglyphics again that we see in the lucky stages. So you saw how fast that bubble came out right there, that little twister. So this is the unlucky stage. Ideally, this will be the first one that you've seen. A lot more obstacles to contend with here. Lots of strange brain matter and innards and things. Mouths within the lining of the stomach and multiple hearts. It's a lot going on here. Biologists would have a field day with whatever this creature is. Probably die, too. There's a lot of dangerous things in here. You can imagine it needs to eat quite a bit when it has this number of mouths in the stomach. Stomach has stomachs, presumably. So the deal with these little, I don't know, spermy looking creatures, I'm not really sure. Just hold back until the end and then keep blasting away, and then go for that opening once you have a slot, stay high, and you can generally avoid damage there. We're going to do that up and down technique once again to simulate that level 4 gun. Make sure they don't get a shot off on us. Just being careful here. Got like a row of teeth right there in the middle. I'm not really sure. Not going to overthink this. This obstacle in 1988 or 89's Legendary Wings. Alright, so at the end, you have sort of a mini-boss here. I'm not going to bring in Gary for this. It's pretty straightforward. What I would like to call attention to is the music here. And you'll see why. How can you not hear that? That's crazy, but just get up on these little guys as soon as they peek out and take them down. But yeah, I cannot not hear that. Just makes me laugh every time. Alright, so this final little stretch here of the top-down part is some of the well, it is the trickiest part of this game. Gotta thread some very small windows, some tight needles. I think I said that right. More of these guys. Nothing too crazy yet. It's when they give us these corridors we have to go up and around through with some very nasty enemy placements. And once again, we'll show you where the final lucky area is, but it's pretty much picked over at this point. I think there's only like maybe 3 weapons upgrades, maybe just 2, something like that. It's like they blew their entire budget on that 4th level lucky area, and you can't blame them. But so yeah, just these tight spots, and there's where the lucky spot is right there. Avoid it. You're going to take down as many guns as you can, but just it's very hard to get through this stretch without getting shot. Yeah. Got caught there. Almost got caught on the wall. Alright, so we've taken 2 hits here. Let's just try to keep the Firebird at least through the dragon part. No, we're not. Yeah. This is going to be a much tougher dragon fight now. Luckily, for the lack of power-ups in the lucky area on this stage, there are a decent amount of them in this final devil area, whatever they call it, the side-scrolling area before the final boss, so should be able to get back to Firebird status there. Batman! Yeah, we'll see how this dragon fight goes now. Without Blaze's item/weapon of the game, we can approach the fight more safely by just using the side shots, so we never really have to put ourselves in any danger. But that wasn't too bad, actually. Landed a lot more hits than I thought. But let's get rid of this gun as quickly as possible. Yes, rush courageously. Don't want to keep the devil waiting. We start off with these guys, a bit harder to take down without the Firebird. If we get up close, we can get a lot of shots in on them, but oof. That's why you can see you want to stay to the back of the screen if possible. And yeah, that's the attack of those guys. But not a problem still. Should be more than enough gun upgrades in here to get us back to where we need to be. They're very generous, surprisingly so. It's like they felt bad after, there we go, back to Firebird status. They felt bad after they just didn't really have anything to give to kids for, on a Boxing Day or whatever you want to call it, in the lucky area of this stage, so Mom went out and worked a second job, or maybe even a third job, to give us plenty of power-ups here. So that's 4 by my count for this area, so enough for someone to get to Firebird status from nothing. There's 5. Not too shabby at all, can't complain. Especially considering the final alien ship isn't really any different from any of the others, just comes out a bit farther. A bit more to dodge, but nothing too challenging. And then we have the final boss, which isn't that tricky, but Gary will talk about that in just a moment. But before we do that, one final alien ship to contend with right here. Mind the needles on the alien ship. It comes out very far this time, so you want to stay all the way to the back of the screen. The needles will either take you down one shot like taking normal damage, or it will just basically send you back an entire life, so it'll strip you. This would be a very bad time to lose the best gun in the game, so just keep that in mind, otherwise the strategy is the same. Just kind of ignoring the eyeballs. When we have that little room to operate in, that's when I just kind of focus on not inflicting damage to the boss and just avoiding those projectiles from the eyes. So this time we want to line up perfectly to get in the middle here. And we're going through the alien ship, blasting out all that gooey brain matter, and for the final boss of the game, once again we throw it over to Gary.
Alright, the final boss of Legendary Wings. Prioritize on staying on opposite sides of the screen, just kind of transitioning each time. And then shoot at the boss when you get a chance from a safe distance to avoid those projectiles. Every time the boss beams in, just make sure you're far enough away. Focus, prioritize on that. Firing is the second priority in this battle, basically. But not that difficult as far as final bosses go. Congratulations, you have beaten Legendary Wings.
Thank you very much, Gary. Excellent work today. Not that you had nearly as much work to do as some other classes, but you know what? I think you deserved a break after some of the recent ones. And yes, thank you to Fluff and Blaze as well. I quite like the music here in this ending for the credits. It's nice. Sometimes to save the best for last, and I think that's the case in this game. Interesting interpretation of how to spell designer right there. Spelling's kind of all over the place, along with the grammar, but you know what? I'm not going to split hairs. This is still a very good game. Please remember to, if you have not yet done so already, to subscribe to this channel. We would love to have you in every week's class. Leave a comment if you have fond memories of this game, or just have anything you'd like to share, any suggestions of future classes. So we just saw Yuki-chan's pop, I'll get a shout out there. And don't forget to like this video. It helps us to keep making great classes for you every week. That was Legendary Wings walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. Thank you very much for joining me for this class. We'll see you next week in the same spot. Hope to see you then. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.